The game I'm looking at today is Letters from Whitechapel. It's published by Nexus Games. It's a 2 to 5 player game, and it should take about an hour to an hour and a half, depending what happens throughout each play. The main mechanic in this game is it's a hidden movement style. And what that means is one player is going to be secretly moving around the board, plotting it out on a notepad basically, and the other players have to figure out where he is. I've never really played this style of game before. There was a mode in the expansion for Pandemic which featured a biochemist that secretly moved around the board, which I really enjoyed, but it was incredibly unbalanced, so it never really got played. One of the complaints that I've heard about this game, unfortunately, is it does have a pretty grim theme. Essentially, one player is playing as Jack the Ripper, and they're going out each night and killing various women. Now, that is a little problematic for some people, but during the actual game, it's pretty abstracted, and you could easily just say that it's a cops versus robber scenario where the robber's going out each night and stealing some treasure and trying to get back home. So you can sort of tiptoe around the subject if you needed to. The other thing is, apparently this game has strong similarities to an older game called Scotland Yard. Now, I've never played Scotland Yard, so I'm going into this with pretty virgin eyes. So, let's see how this game works. This is the starting setup for Letters from Whitechapel. The way the game starts, the player who's playing the Jack character gets to secretly choose any one of these numbered circles and write that down as his secret hideout. And then every single night, he's going to go out and he's going to kill one of these white pawns, and the object is for him to get back to his hideout before either the police capture him or if the time runs out. After Jack chooses his hideout, he then receives these 8 tokens. And what these are going to do is they're going to show where these 5 pawns are going to end up. The red dots is where the pawns are going to be, and the blank ones are actually decoys. And now it's the police's turn. First of all, they flip over the first tile here to see who's the start player. And now they're given 7 of these tokens, 5 of which has each of the colors of the police officers, and there's 2 blanks. And so this is the bluffing part of the game where Jack is, secretly deciding where he's going to put the victims, and the police are secretly deciding where they're going to put each of their officers. The police now put their tokens on each of the yellow squares on the board. And now the reveal. All the white tokens are flipped over. All the circles with red dots are replaced with these pawns. And now Jack gets to make a decision. He can either choose to kill one of these pawns right away, or he can bide his time and wait a turn. Now, waiting gives Jack 2 benefits. This is the turntable, which tells you how long Jack has to get back to his home. And if he waits a turn, it makes this timer go back a space, giving him 1 more turn. Now, the downside to that, though, the police then get to move each of these pawns 1 space closer to their officers. This is a good point to explain movement. Jack, who moves secretly, and all these pawns, they always stick to these numbered circles, and so they're always allowed to move to adjacent circles. So in this phase where I can move each pawn 1 space, they can move to any adjacent circle, and that just simply means they can't move over more than 2. So this is adjacent, this, this, or this. So there are quite a few movement options, but I'm just going to move them here for right now. The other benefit for waiting is Jack now gets to reveal 1 police tile. Jack's going to reveal this one, and it is a blue tile, and we'll simply place this face up. So Jack now knows a police officer is going to show up here. At this point, Jack can now decide again, would he like to wait another turn, or would he like to get rid of one of the pawns? So Jack's going to kill a pawn. He gets his choice of any of these 5 that are out on the board, and I'm going to have him get rid of this guy. So I'm going to take a red token over here and place this over this spot, and now I can remove all of the other pawns. The police now reveal all their tokens and replace each of the colored tokens with their people. The game is now afoot. We now take this timer token and replace it with the Jack figure. Jack writes down the crime scene at the current time on the score sheet, and the way the score sheet works is it shows each of the 4 nights. So here we're going to write down his current space, which is 99. In the 2 section, which is indicated here. It's now Jack's goal to get back to the hideout, which I had marked as space 180, before the police can stop him. In this stage of the game, there's 3 simple steps. Jack gets to move, the police get to move, and then the police get to either look for clues or try to make an arrest. In the first stage, Jack is obviously at space 99 because that's where the crime was committed, and he gets to move 1 space per turn. Jack could move from space 99 to 120, 100, 84, or 83. So I'm just going to have him move to 120 to try to get back home really quickly. Jack writes down in the next space 120, and now it's the police's turn. The police don't know where Jack moved to. It's all done secretly. The police always have to guess where he's moving. Obviously the crime took place here, so they're all gonna center in on there. The police move a little differently. The way they move is they're allowed to move up to 2 black squares. So from this space, this police officer could go like 1, 2. Now I'll move all the police officers in turn order, with yellow being the start player. So yellow moves 2 squares, green 1, 2, brown 1, 2, red 1, 2, and blue 1, 2. Now the police have 2 options. They can choose to either search for clues in any directly adjacent numbered circles, or they can try to make an arrest. What I mean by directly adjacent is this yellow guy is on this square, and the only circle that is directly connected to this square is space 118, so that's the only one he can ask about. And the way this works is yellow would say, are there any clues on space 118? And so the Jack player is going to look at the current day, and he's going to look at all the numbers that he wrote down. And if 118 had shown up in this list, he would have said yes, there's a clue. If he says no, the officer can keep guessing circles around him that are directly adjacent, or he passes. And the other thing he could have done, instead of searching for clues, the yellow guy could have also said he's making an arrest on space 118. And if Jack had him in there, he would have made a successful arrest and the game would have been over. But Jack's not there. So assuming the police officers made all of their guesses, it's now the next turn. So it's Jack's move again, and this time, instead of making a normal move, I'm going to have him use one of his special abilities, which is to take a coach. And the way this works is we place it over the next 2 turns, and then move the timer up here, and this allows him to make 2 jumps in a row. Jack was in space 120, and so now he's going to go 119 and 153, so that's where he is. And so the Jack player simply writes down those numbers, 119 and 153. The police all move again, so I'll just go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. The police again make all the relevant guesses. The only guess that would actually give us a result in this case is the yellow officer. So if he guessed that, if he was looking for a clue in space 119, Jack would say yes, because on his chart he can see the number 119, and so the Jack will put one of these clear tokens on that space so the police know that he's been on this trail. The other movement ability at Jack's disposal is this lamppost token, and what that allows you to do is Jack, who right now is sitting at space 153, it allows him to jump to any other space in the same block. And so as you can see, like, the map is divided into like numerous different blocks. So in this area, there's this dotted line around this perimeter. So Jack can actually move to any one of these dots around the perimeter, representing him like running through the little streets of London. But Jack's not going to do that. He wants to get home. So Jack, who is on space 153, he is going to move to space 180, and because he got to his hideout, which was indicated by right here, he announces that he's home and the round is over. We set up for a new night, and Jack will only have 4 of these victim tokens to deal with, as there's only 4 victims left, and on night 3 there will only be 3 victims left, and actually on night 3 there will be a double murder. And then on the 4th and final night, there will only be 1 red dot to place. The game ends with either Jack getting home on the 4th and final night, or with the police catching or stopping him from getting home. I love this game. I love the whole sneaking around the board and having the other characters trying to capture you while you're trying to stealthily get back to your base. It's just incredibly engaging. I played it a few times as both Jack and as the cops involved, and both sides provide a certain amount of like stimulation that I don't really see in many other games. It's just the thrill of the chase, or the thrill of the sneak, whichever way you want to look at it. One issue I do have with the game though is it says that it's for 2 to 6 players. I'm not really so sure about that. While you could essentially have one player play as Jack and have the other players like take control of each of the police officers, it's a job that can easily be handled by one person, and it just sort of seems like a waste of effort. You can enjoy it that way, but I see this as a very, very strong 2-player game. There's little downtime. It's just really fun and engaging that way. The only real negative I have for this game is it's a little fiddly, because all the steps about where you're secretly putting where all the pawns are going to come out, and then you secretly put out where all the police are, and then you do the reveals and blah blah blah. It's a lot of like moving tokens around, and that does get a little monotonous, but once that phase is done and you're doing the whole sneaking and searching part of it, it's just so gripping. One other thing that I really like about this game is there are some additional variants that you can introduce if you find that the game is always going in Jack's favor, or if the police are always winning. So there's a couple tweaks that can just sort of tilt the balance one way or the other just to even out the odds. So I wholeheartedly suggest this game, but as a 2-player game, I don't really enjoy it as the full complement of 6, but some people may. Excellent game. I really suggest it.